Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you. I hope you're well. My name is Nick and we're going through sort of like the index of the sort of like channel. It's ZX Spectrum games covered so far, 751 to 800. So let's go. And we start this time with Subway Vigilante. It's a game that's trying to be like a Renegade or Target Renegade, but it doesn't quite work. The problem with this is, as you try and beat up gangs in the underground, is well, look, they're following me a bit like this, but they take too many hits to knock down, and as a kid I just would not have had the patience to continue fighting on and on and on. Could have done with a bit of music, that might have lifted it, but other better fighters are available, so I would go with Renegade and Target Renegade over this. Jet Set Willy mix-up, it's a mod of Jet Set Willy, which I'm sure you already knew. The main difference is, although they've changed some of the graphics, the main difference is the character you control. You have a choice of maybe 6 characters, maybe a few more. I found controlling this pigeon a bit strange. He can fall down and die, but you know, it adds an extra dimension to a great game. You see on the right there, the woman that normally goes up and down has been changed for a spaceman. So I do like looking at a good mod. Jet Set Willy mix up. Thrust, really clever inertia game. Really tricky to control as well, but essentially you must guide your ship without running out of fuel there, you can see. Do a tractor beam and tow these balls or energy pods away from the energy planet. It gets trickier and trickier as you go from level to level with increased difficult terrain, and stuff will shoot at you, which is pretty nasty. Vector graphics there. The game also came out in the Atari 2600, which might be worth a look. Hooray! The real Ghostbusters, based on the cartoon, based on the film from Ghostbusters, of course. This thing is attempting a lot. The gameplay isn't particularly smooth, but I think I would have liked it back in the just because the amazing graphics. Graphics are better than the playability, to be fair, but if you're big into the real Ghostbusters cartoon, which I was, then you probably give this some time of day as well. I think it's on the 128k because the amount it is doing, but basically shoot everything and then get to, I think, get to the exit, I believe. Indiana Jones and the Fountain of Everlasting Life. It's a homebrew, and I really liked this game initially, but it's so ridiculously short. I think it might have been made as an April Fool's joke. So it's really going well. I like Indiana Jones. There's not too many good Indiana Jones games. And as soon as you get to about the third screen, it's pretty much over. You have to go around collecting artifacts. So good, but where is the rest of the game? I downloaded this from Spectrum Computing if you want to have a look for yourself. But too short, good. CROSSWIZE is a horizontal scroller shooter, and like a lot of games on the Spectrum, is way too difficult. There are pokes available for infinite lives or immunity, I believe. Graphically it's good, it sounds really good, but if they made it a little bit easier, not such a steep learning curve to get into it, I would have enjoyed the game a whole lot more. Coders were a bit cruel with kids, weren't they, back then, to try and frustrate them as much as possible, it seems, or maybe they didn't play test it enough. But good, but too difficult. Thrust 2, carrying on from Thrust, they get rid of the vectors this time. We got more solid graphics, but the idea is roughly the same. Go down, collect these balls. I think we need to collect a number of them and take them to a special base. It's slightly easier to control than the Thrust one, but my preference is for that first game, just because it seems to be more original. But I do like a good inertia game. Thrust 2. I bet you didn't know Thrust 2 was available, but here it is. Deliver it to the bay, that flashing box there. So Donkey Kong Reloaded, another game made with AGD, the arcade game designer, which there are quite a few about the place now. The original Super Mario or Donkey Kong was over single screens. This is more exploration. You just collect all the money and basically eventually kill that big gorilla thing at the end. It's well coded, but preferences for the original Donkey Kong. You know that would be the case, but this is interesting to see as well. Donkey Kong Reloaded. CISCO Heat, it's an arcade port and conversion. It moves at a fairly decent rate for the Spectrum, but what I don't like is that red car on a green background. That does play havoc a little bit with my eyes. You've got some amazing right hand corners 90 degrees to actually come across at some point. But even so, I would have had a bit of fun with this as a kid, although looking back now as an adult I can see it wasn't particularly that good, but it would have kept me going. CISCO Heat, set in San Francisco. It's a police race essentially. Back to the Future Part 2, a great movie. Mainly played this on my Commodore Amiga because it's one of the games I had included with it. ZX Spectrum follows the same sort of path. It's lots of mini games essentially, starting in the year 2015. You must outwit Griff and his gang, and then eventually get back to 1985. The levels are a little bit long, especially this first one, so a lot of kids might not have got past the first stage. But Back to the Future Part 2, it's got some play to it. Really, really good homebrew, this one. Roger the Pangolin in 2020 at Noel Tour. It's one of those games you play where you think, how the hell did they actually program this on the ZX Spectrum? It seems super duper ooper tricky to me, but plays really good. I know, look at the animation, it's just so smooth. If you want to see any more of these games that I'm talking about today, they've all been reviewed, of course, so check out the review in the different playlists there. Roger the Pangolin, great game. Great game. You could almost see this in the arcade. Andy CAPP, based on the comic strip Andy CAPP. It's more of a curio this than an epic game. You basically wander around trying to waste the day and, not spend your gyro. Don't get a job or else it's the end of the world. He can get alcohol and place bets. Curious enough, Andy CAPP, he escapes capture from the police by blowing kisses at them, which I don't quite understand that. But there you go. It's Andy CAPP. It animates okay, but it's not a particularly exciting game. Blasteroids, sort of like a sequel to Asteroids from the arcades. You can choose between 3 ships and you can alternate between them literally during the play. One's got extra shields, one's got extra firepower, one's got extra manoeuvrability. And unlike Asteroids, there are power-ups in this game. Whenever you see a magenta asteroid, if you actually shoot that, there might be a power-up actually within that, or an energy pod. Not bad, but I'm a purist, so I would like the original Asteroids. But Blasteroids isn't a bad one, come out on a number of systems. Donkey Kong Reloaded again, by the same people that gave us Donkey Kong Reloaded. This one's more open-ended, again made with AGD, but I think the author, they did do a comment when I reviewed this, they did it so it'll teach people about programming, and you can actually get into the program and make alterations and see how it's done as well, and try and edit the original game. So there we go, Donkey Kong Reloaded, again more of an interest really than a serious attempt at a game. Back to the Future Part 3, great music playing throughout this one, based on the movie of course. Doc Brown, first of all, has got to rescue Clara Clayton from going over a ravine. Like Back to the Future 2, it's set over a number of mini levels, and look at the animation on that horse. Absolutely amazing. Again, as hard as nails this one, so you need a lot of practice. This level in particular, you are racing a horse horizontally, then it goes to vertically, a bit like Desperado I suppose. There's a shooting bit and lots of big individual games. Wreckage, yeah, can't get more basic than this. These aliens are coming along bombing our town, and we must direct 2 crosshairs you see on the left and the right, so horizontal and vertical, to position them and shooting all these amazing jellyfish alien things. And then once you've done that, the next wave come across and there might be one more. They keep coming and going and going until it's game over. It's always going to end in death, and there's not much you can do about that. Space Invaders, retro, early 80s. Frantic Pengo, homebrew there. Basically a little bit like Push Off I suppose. Great music playing throughout, really delightful this game. You must move blocks to crush various aliens and meanies about the place. There will be other obstacles as you go further along, extra bits to learn. Great learning curve on this one, and I really recommend tracking this one down. Frantic Pengo, no, not Pingu, the penguin thing. This is Frantic Pengo, really nice gameplay, really inviting to play. A conversion from the arcades, 1943, the Battle of Midway. The sequel to 1942, of course, and it follows a similar sort of vein. Detailed backgrounds, although they are only 2 colours, but plays really good. Like a lot of the vertical scrolling shooters, it's quite difficult. Another game that come out on multiple systems. Really liked playing this one. I've live streamed it a few times. If you want to catch a live stream in the future, then feel free to do so. They're all in the playlist there if you want to catch up on previous ones that have gone by. Another Indiana Jones game full of red. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis is isometric, and what lets this game down quite a bit is it just moves so slowly. Indiana Jones is all about excitement, thrills and spills, the actual movies that is, and this doesn't capture that at all. As a kid, I probably wouldn't have persevered with this one just because of the speed of the thing, but you know, better Indiana Jones games are available on the spectrum, but not many. Temple of Doom maybe at a small push. Target Renegade, a really great game back in the day. This one has been modded by Rafael Miazga to give you different backgrounds. Apart from that, it plays exactly the same. I think the backgrounds are slightly better, but that's you know, you could argue the toss over that. Much better game than Subway Vigilante. So if you're going to choose Subway Vigilante or Target Renegade Reimagined, definitely go for Reimagined. And it does give these games a little bit of extra life, give you a few bonus levels, and there's nothing wrong about that. The only thing with the game is I did always favour that kick. Roller Coaster, awesome game. The central character looks a bit like Henhouse Harry from Chucky Egg, but basically each screen has got its own character, different rides so to speak, so would have loved this as a kid, but you got to collect money that's been scattered around from disgruntled employee from the fairground on this platformer. Nice and colourful there, but the rides are all on, so you risk death through every one. There's like the Wurlitzer, the log flume, the roller coaster, everywhere, and you must go across the park. Buccaneer, a horizontal scroller shooter, really good scrolling in this one. Really good for the early 80s, which I believe this came out on. You can't go left and right, just up and down. Shoot all the aliens and it's on to the next stage. And every so often there'll be a tricky docking stage where you have to dock with something that looks a bit like a clamp. Hooray! Let's just shoot that one. Good. Fuel's going down all the time. Great stuff. Buccaneer. Another mod, Bombjack Plus, plays exactly the same as the original Bombjack on the ZX Spectrum, and no bad thing because it's a great conversion there. This just gives you a few extra screens, different backgrounds. Also, if you played Bombjack before, you know what to do. Get the power-ups, destroy all the enemy when you get that P, but more importantly, get all the bombs to get onto the next level. If you get in the right order, you get extra bonus points. Bombjack. Good. Really good game, Bombjack Plus. I think there's a Bombjack editor about as well. Operation Gunship, top-down shooter action. We must take this helicopter, blow the hell out of everything, and rescue Marines in buildings. Now, it's all pretty much green, so sometimes it's a little bit hard to see the Marines waving at you. If you run out of fuel, you've had it. So best, rather than just collect one Marine and go back to HQ, get them a few at the same time and then get back that way. But great blasting action there. You'll enjoy it if you like those games. Pipe Mania, a really clever puzzle style game. You've got to assemble random bits of pipework that come towards you, as you can see in the left, and assemble them on the main grid to get the longest pipe available. You see in the top right it says D. That's how many pipes we need to collect, because this red ooze is going to be released. If that gets to the end and you haven't got associated pipework connected to it, it's the end of the game if you haven't got the required length of pipework. ATIC ATAC, the Njenkin version. Yes, here's me, thanks to Alan Turvey, who'd have thought it, running around ATIC ATAC there. So I've even got my my hat on. So, you know, I don't think you'll be able to find this game. But instead of the wizard, the knight and the serf, I'm controlling myself. And it did seem a little bit weird when I saw myself die in that haunted castle. It's a mod of a mod, really. Alan Turvey did ATIC ATAC, the Halloween edition, which I believe is trackable if you want to find that one where you're controlling Saberman. Speed Duel, another early 80s racing game. Takes a while to get used to the controls of this. There's different modes, different difficulties and different tracks, but you won't find any game quite like this one where you must come in first place to win. A great basic gameplay there, but it is a challenge. If you pick up speed, you can lose control of the car quite quickly, as I proved over and over again. But a good early game which was to influence ones to come. Little known, this one. Deep Strike, one of those games you think, again, how the hell did they do that? But you control a bomber going over enemy territory, and you must protect 5 of your accompanying bomber ships. there by taking out gun placements as well. The aim of the game, which I'd never completed, is get to the enemy's HQ and just bomb it to Betsy, and also collect fuel from various fuel depots. Great animation on this one. Flame rate is as expected for the era, 48k. OUTRUN reimagined, EUROPA I should say. It's been coloured in this time, so the first game was all sort of like a monochrome. This has got various colours on it, which is nice to see. It does make the game a little bit easier to play, but the playability even so isn't particularly brilliant. Frame rate is alright, good to see it with a bit of colour there, lifts the game enormously, but you know, I always wanted a little bit more from OUTRUN on the Spectrum and home computers in general. It's not bad on the Sega Mega Drive there, but good to see, reimagined. LOCOMOTION, another puzzle game. This train is running out of control. As you see, it's going to follow the tracks. We must quickly assemble the track to get the train from the top left to the bottom right so it meets the station. First level is easy enough. You go across Europe, starting from London. I think the next one is Paris. And then it's slightly trickier to arrange the track. There'll be hazards there to bump into, which you don't want to do. But here I am, completing level 1. Hooray for me! Freddy Harvest, a rather uninspiring 2D scroller set in space. You crash landed on an alien planet and you must battle your way to the end on quite long levels to escape the planet. Yeah, it plays okay. There's not too much I can say about it. It's not particularly exciting. I like the star background there. There's a good variety of aliens. As a kid, it might have kept you entertained for a little while. I do like these jumps in the middle. It just seems to be lacking a certain something for me. Jet Set Willy, Wet Sunday Afternoon graphical remix. A lot has been changed on this based on the original game by Matthew Smith and produced by Software Projects. I think mainly it's like colours here and there. You can see normally there's be a cyan razor blade going along the bottom of this stage in particular, this room. Instead it's some sort of bird with a big flappy nose. Hooray! I do like seeing odd differences, and Jet Set Willy's hat looks like it's got a band across it this time as well. Let's have a look at Maria. Hello, there she is. PYRAMANIA, not a mod as such, it was a game in its own right. I think it's only come out on a tape. Manic Mine or Jet Set Willy, or whoever this is, must be going through a pyramid. Now, it wasn't a commercial release, I do not think. You must collect items, and it's the same sort of like engine as Manic Mine or Jet Set Willy, but the one difference is, it seems to be you can fall down an unlimited amount of distance and you're still okay, unless you land on a nasty, of course. MOTOS. Interesting game, this one. Individual single screen level base where you control a ship. There are power-ups you can get as well, but essentially you've got to knock all the enemy off the board without getting knocked off yourself. Some of them are quite meaty, and your power-ups involve you getting a little bit heavier, so your pushing power is greater, so you don't get pushed quite as much. Very, very addictive game, and good sounds on this throughout as well. MOTOS. Let's try and take that B off. The Adventures of Sid Spider, a homebrew, quite basic. There's a lot going on in the graphics. It is a bit busy, but it's a puzzle game, problem solving. You collect one key at a time to go through various doors. If you run out of keys, you sort of like had it. So here you see Sid Spider, it's got the red key, go through the red door to get the green key there, and then the idea is you've got to get that star at the end, which you see flashing in the middle. So this level is all about getting the blue key. It gets difficult real quick, but I think you'll be doing a few levels at least. Freddy Hardest in South Manhattan. Now, the first game was better than this, believe it or not. Follows a sort of like style similar to Kung Fu Master, but the problem with this is there's just too many people to defeat. You just get swamped totally. It's a shame because the graphics are really detailed and good, but it's just a frustration fest really. I think I reviewed it with a poke on in the end, and even so, it wasn't a great deal of fun then. So it's one to be missed. SHAO-LINS Road. Now this looks basic to the eye, but I really enjoyed it. You're trying to escape some sort of temple. You'll get further and further away from it each time as you complete the levels, but essentially it's not rocket science. Defeat everyone on the stage and you're there. You see the damage rating at the top there flashing on 2. If it gets to out, then that's the end of your life. Pretty much you kick all the way through. There are objects you can kick as well to launch at your opponent. SHAO-LINS Road. Renegade recolored, yes, it's a mod. Different backgrounds this time. It doesn't compete with the original game. It's just different. Gameplay is exactly the same, really. Kicking is a little bit more difficult in Renegade than Target Renegade, so I found this one a little bit more of a challenge. But listen to that music. It's groovy, and this music was in the original as well, so it's just cosmetic again. It's different backgrounds. If you like Renegade, and check this one out if you want a slightly different well, background experience, I suppose. Danger Mouse in Double Trouble. Now, what's going on with this game, I do not know. I played it with not really having a clue what was happening, but I completed it. That just shows how bad it is. I love Danger Mouse the cartoon. This is set over 3 stages. You will save the world in under 5 minutes. That's what I did. I'm not sure what's going on with that tug-of-war graphic down the bottom there as we try and defeat Baron Greenback. The best bit is this bit, reminded me a bit of like Pitfall on the Atari 2600. But there you go, that's pretty much, we've completed the game almost there. Glass. I'm really happy to run into this one. It's a game I lost contact with as a child and didn't remember what the name of it was, but I'm really glad to find it. Great graphics, multiple stages, which sees you destroying various aliens there, and a massive ship that goes across now, but essentially we need to nuke, I think, in fact, 3 alien cities, probably because they deserved it. But this is a nostalgia fest for me. Glass. I would never have guessed it was called Glass, but there it is again, really pleased to see. Golden Axe Reimagined, more work from Rafael Miazga. If you're familiar with the original Golden Axe, I think it struggled in the gameplay. Again, this is just giving you extra coloured graphics and no bad thing. I'd rather play Golden Axe on a 16-bit system like the Commodore Amiga or the Sega Mega Drive. Really ambitious to attempt this, and they didn't do a bad job, but I think it struggles slightly, and that's reflected in the gameplay. But some people would have loved it. It is just an opinion at the end of the day. Jack the Nipper, a really classic game, a platformer. You must control Jack, of course, and you must cause as much chaos as possible, as naughty as possible, to get your naughty meter, which you see at the bottom right there, as high as you possibly can. And you do this by collecting objects, shooting pea shooters at people, and poisoning plants, and doing various bits and pieces. Jack the Nipper, I didn't have this one back in the day. You had to have played it to get the nostalgia, of course, because I thought it was okay, but it wasn't brilliant in my opinion. Cannon Warrior, the best thing about this is the sound. Listen to that glorious laser fire going on. Survive as long as you can. Music playing in the background also. Collect the power-ups. What makes this game extra tricky is, as well as trying not to get shot and blasted, you've got a fuel gauge going down the whole time. You can see in that yellow vertical strip, and if that goes to the bottom, you're dead as well. Great power-ups like missiles and stuff, but I was pretty good at blowing up my own fuel pods, which isn't the thing to do. Flappy Bird ZX, homebrew based on the addictive game of Flappy Bird, which come out on iOS and Android. Really addictive game. More exciting to play than to watch. You control this Homer Simpson looking bird as long as you can, using the space bar there on and off. So it is a 1-button game, a bit more difficult than Flappy Clive, a bit quicker. I liked it, but it was infuriating. So if you don't want to lose a few hours to the thing, then don't load it, but good all the same. Jack the Nipper 2, I thought this was far better than Jack the Nipper the first game, in Coconut Capers. Basically, his family had been deported, well, were being deported to Australia, but Jack jumped out of the plane, as babies do, using his nappy as a parachute. I don't think this is a true story. And now he's trying to cause as much naughtiness as possible in the jungle this time. A lot of cool animals in this game wearing shades, and, you know, an elephant wearing shades has got to be a cool thing. This bit here reminded me a little bit of Roller Coaster as you go on a sort of like a mine ride. Tiger Road, arcade conversion, a little bit floaty in the jumping. The game works better on the Spectrum here than the Commodore Amiga version, but mainly because the Commodore Amiga version could have been a little bit better. I enjoyed this one. Multiple levels, survive as long as you can, fighting various meanies. It will test you. A good bit of scrolling there. This is the bit that I found a little bit tricky, trying to avoid these trolls, but easier than the Commodore Amiga version, and that is for sure. 2D Death Chase, bit of a joke this one, made for a crap gaming competition. No, that was the name of the competition. 3D Death Chase is the one it's based off. It was an excellent game on Micro Amiga back in the day. This takes it onto a 2D top-down thing. It moves ridiculously slow, but it isn't a serious attempt at a game. You can break into it, or if you crash into a tree, it breaks into it for you. So if you want to learn about programming, you can do a list, and it will show you the whole game. Quite funny, but I wouldn't have wanted to pay any money for it, and I wouldn't have had to either. Jonah Barrington Squash. Jonah Barrington, little known to me, as is Squash the game, but this is a good game. Jonah Barrington was a 6 times equivalent world champion, I believe. You're playing squash with a spoon. I wasn't very good at it in the review, but we since live streamed it and I was a lot better, so it's growing on me. But the best thing about this game is the speech, really. So if you know the rules of squash, this will be good. Even if you don't know the rules about squash, it's all about hitting that pixel square ball back. A good game, well programmed. You know, it's on a level with Match Point, the tennis game. Bullseye, based on the TV show from the 80s, presented by Jim Bowen. It's for 2 players, this one, and you must answer questions. It's like trivia as well, and get the darts in the right place. And this level, we was trying to score as much as we can, and that was how much the question was worth in points at the end. In the show, it was in money, and you're trying to win a speedboat or something equally as unusual that you probably couldn't win back in the day. Bullseye, good game, good game. Mr. Kung Fu. Now, the original port of Kung Fu Master wasn't very good. This is a homebrew Mr. Kung Fu, and it's a lot better. It takes some skills to be any good at this game, but if you're familiar with Kung Fu Master and was upset with the awful port back in the day, this one is heaps and heaps better. Mr. Kung Fu, good stuff. You know, good masking, no colour clash there, good music all the way through. Get as far as you can without being destroyed. Energy up the top there, there's the Knife Man going there. So hope you liked having a look at those games. If you want to see the full review of any of them, they are in the ZX Spectrum playlist. So that takes us from ZX Spectrum games 751 through to 800. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. There's a lot of videos like this in this particular playlist. Until next time, take great care of yourself and a very fond goodbye.
Goodbye.